What if an AI could look at a photo of a child and right there see the one clue to a rare genetic disease that has stumped doctors for years? Well, today, we're diving into this incredible technology called GestaltMatcher. It's actually turning that idea into reality, and it's offering real hope to millions of families.
You know, for any family dealing with a rare disease, just getting a diagnosis, just getting a name for what's happening can be this long, incredibly painful journey. They call it the Diagnostic Odyssey, and it really shows just how big of a challenge this is in medicine today. But what if that first clue, the key to it all, was hiding in a simple photograph all along, just waiting for the right pair of eyes to see it? All right, so let's get into it. Section 1, the quest for a name. To really get why this tech is such a big deal, we have to understand the sheer scale of this diagnostic odyssey we've been talking about.
6.2%. That might not sound like a huge number, but that's the percentage of the entire global population affected by a rare genetic disorder. We're talking about over 400 million people. And for a huge number of them, especially kids with neurodevelopmental disorders, the very first clues are literally written on their faces.
And this really gets to the heart of the problem. See, a really skilled geneticist can sometimes look at a patient and just see it. They recognize this subtle pattern of facial features, what they call the gestalt. It's like the overall impression. But here's the catch. Their ability is completely limited by what they've personally seen in their career. So if a doctor has never, ever come across one of these ultra-rare diseases, how on earth could they be expected to recognize it?
Okay, so this is where AI comes into the picture. And the first generation of these tools, honestly, they seemed like magic, but they had a huge critical blind spot.
And don't get me wrong, tools like Deep Gestalt were a massive leap forward. They were trained on thousands and thousands of patient photos, and they could spot hundreds of different syndromes with just incredible accuracy. A lot of the time, they were even better than the top human experts. But there was a fundamental flaw in the whole approach. The problem, when you boil it down, was pretty simple. The AI could only recognize what it had been specifically trained to see. And as this quote from the paper points out, for most rare diseases, there just aren't enough photos out there to train a model in the first place. So what about the rarest of the rare? What about brand new diseases being discovered? They were all left completely in the dark. So, this old method is called a classifier. It had three big weaknesses. 1, you needed a ton of photos to teach it anything new. 2, if you wanted to add a new syndrome to its memory, you had to retrain the entire system from scratch, which took forever. And 3, and this is a big one, it had no way of comparing two undiagnosed patients to see if they might have the same new, undiscovered disease. It was clear a totally new approach was needed. And this is where the team behind GestaltMatcher had a breakthrough. They realized they were asking the wrong question. They had to completely reframe the problem. Instead of teaching the AI to memorize diseases, they needed to teach it how to compare faces. So, what if the AI asked a totally different question? What if, instead of just memorizing a checklist of known diseases, you could teach it to think more like a detective? What if it could find a match for a face it had never, ever seen before?
And this right here is the fundamental shift. The old AI was asking, what disease is this? That's the classification problem. But the new AI, GestaltMatcher, asks, what face is this most similar to? That's a matching problem. And that one simple change in the question, well, it changes absolutely everything.
Okay, so how does this thing actually work? Well, it's basically a three-step process. First, the AI scans a patient's photo. Then, and this is the cool part, it translates all the key facial features into a unique digital signature, basically a long string of numbers. You could think of it like a fingerprint before a face. And then third, that unique facial fingerprint gets plotted as a single point on this huge, complex map of faces. And here's the magic. On this map, the distance between any 2 points is a direct measurement of how similar their facial features are. This means the AI can find the closest match to a new face, even if it's never seen that specific disease before. It's not looking for a label it already knows. It's just measuring pure similarity.
Now, this all sounds brilliant in theory, right? But the real question is, does it actually work in practice? Well, the researchers put GestaltMatcher through its paces with some really tough tests to find out.
And this chart here shows something really fascinating they discovered. It turns out, if you want to make the AI better at spotting new, unseen diseases, it's much more effective to train it on a wider variety of different syndromes. It's not about just feeding it more photos of the same few conditions. That diversity in the training data, that's the real key to its power.
But okay, here it is, the ultimate test. Forget about known diseases for a second. Could this AI take photos of kids from totally unrelated families living on different continents who all have the exact same, brand new, not yet named genetic condition and figure out that they're connected?
And the answer was a resounding yes. This table shows the incredible results from a real-world case. It involved a new syndrome linked to a gene called TMEM94. So they uploaded a photo of a patient from one family, and bam, the AI ranked a patient from a completely different family as the #1 or #2 closest match in its entire database. It connected families from India, Qatar, the US, and Switzerland. People who had no idea the others even existed. And that connection was the critical piece of evidence they needed to officially define a new disease.
And this wasn't just a lucky guess. They looked across 15 different studies, all involving newly discovered diseases, and GestaltMatcher managed to connect over half of the families, that's 40 out of 79, to another family with the exact same rare condition. This is a total game changer for speeding up genetic discovery.
Which brings us to our final section, and honestly, the most powerful idea of all. GestaltMatcher isn't just a diagnostic tool, it's actually an engine for scientific discovery.
This visualization is basically a peek inside the AI's brain. Look at the left side. You can see how syndromes that have really recognizable facial features form these tight, clear clusters on the map. But on the right, for conditions that don't affect the face, it's just a random scatter. There's no pattern. This is proof that the AI is picking up on real, biologically meaningful patterns. It's not just seeing random noise. And what this chart tells us is just fascinating. The AI's accuracy is directly linked to how distinctive a syndrome's facial pattern is. That makes sense. But, and this is the really important part, its accuracy has nothing to do with how common or rare that disease is. That makes it the absolute perfect tool for tackling that long tail of thousands of ultra-rare disorders.
Think about what this means. By putting an actual number on facial similarity, GestaltMatcher gives researchers a truly objective tool. They can now answer questions that used to be based on just a hunch or intuition. It can help prove that two conditions that look different are actually related. Or it can confirm that, yes, this handful of patients scattered across the globe really do have the same new syndrome. It's just fundamentally speeding up how we understand human genetics.
So that leaves us with this final, powerful question. For the millions of people who are still on that long diagnostic journey, this technology represents a whole new kind of hope. It's an incredible reminder that sometimes the answers we're desperately searching for are hidden in plain sight, just waiting for a new way of seeing.